Imagine you're swimming off the coast of a secluded island. The water is calm until a shadow approaches, a boat-sized shadow. A dorsal fin breaks the surface, attached to a 50-foot megalodon rocketing in your direction. To understand the scale of this creature, look at its jaws. You could quite literally build a small bedroom inside its mouth, complete with a bed and a desk, and still have room to spare. We know exactly how the dinosaurs met their end. A massive asteroid slammed into the planet, wrapping up their story in a sudden, violent flash. But the megalodon vanished millions of years later, and no space rocks were involved. Adding to the mystery is the fact that they left almost nothing behind. Nature built the megalodon out of cartilage rather than dense bone. So while thick dinosaur femurs turned to stone over time, almost the entire body of a megalodon rotted away completely, leaving us with mostly isolated teeth and jawbones. Those isolated teeth belonged to an animal that required an astronomical amount of fuel. To survive, a single megalodon had to consume roughly 2,500 pounds of meat every single day. That is the equivalent of eating 2 full-grown cows for breakfast. We are left with a massive, highly efficient eating machine that required thousands of pounds of food daily, suddenly disappearing from the fossil record without a cataclysmic impact. Something invisible erased the largest predator on Earth. The culprit was the planet itself. Around 5.3 million years ago, Earth entered the Pliocene epoch. Global temperatures began to plummet, initiating a severe long-term cooling phase that would eventually freeze vast portions of the globe. At the same time, the Earth's crust was physically moving. Huge tectonic plate shifts slowly closed off ancient open seaways between Eurasia and Africa, slamming shut the paths that allowed warm ocean currents to circulate freely. The marine mammals and whales that made up the bulk of the megalodon's diet adapted quickly. To survive the dropping temperatures, they migrated out of the drying shallow seas and into the newly formed freezing cold waters of the deep ocean. The giant shark could not follow them. Megalodons evolved specifically to hunt in warm coastal waters. Their biology simply did not function in the extreme cold. Caught between massive land bridges rising from the ocean floor and ocean temperatures crashing around them, their tropical hunting grounds effectively became an inescapable barren trap. Down in those warm waters, marine vegetation started dying off. The tiny insects and smaller fish that relied on plants vanished next. The megalodons were suddenly starving as the lower food chain collapsed right underneath them. Then, a highly agile competitor entered the fray, the great white shark. They were significantly smaller, but in a dying ecosystem, that size difference was exactly what they needed to win. Because of their compact size, great whites required a fraction of the caloric requirement. They could navigate tighter spaces, strike faster, and survive on the meager scraps of prey that a 50-foot giant would starve trying to catch. As if starvation wasn't enough, the freezing polar ice caps stopped feeding fresh water back into the ocean. Over the next 1,500 years, this caused the salinity levels of the remaining warm ocean water to spike dangerously high. Adapting to rapidly cooling waters, new competitors, and intense salt concentrations required deep genetic biodiversity. The megalodon simply did not have the traits necessary to mutate and survive these extreme chemical shifts. There was no single cataclysmic day of destruction. Instead, the Earth spent over a millennium slowly pulling the biological rug out from under its apex predator, methodically starving it out of existence. Since humans have only explored a fraction of the world's oceans, a popular myth persists that the megalodon might still be alive today, hiding in the shadows of the deep sea. But the ocean isn't completely blind anymore. Our modern detection technology is highly advanced. An active 50-foot predator hunting anywhere in the water column would absolutely leave a measurable acoustic or biological footprint. Even if we entertain the idea that a small population somehow survived the Pliocene Ice Age and remained completely hidden, they would face an entirely new, insurmountable problem today. That problem is us. Industrial human fishing operations currently extract over 300 million fish and 73 million smaller sharks from the oceans every single year. We are systematically emptying the ocean's pantry. A creature that requires 2,500 pounds of daily meat to survive has zero mathematical chance of finding enough food in an environment heavily stripped by commercial trawlers. The fall of the megalodon proves that immense size and raw power are ultimately vulnerabilities. The animals that survive aren't always the strongest. They are the most adaptable. And as we continue to rapidly shift the climate and strip the oceans today, that history serves as a stark warning for the marine life we have left.